camera speeds, quiet on set. Scene 2A, Lee Rose interview. 3, 2, 1, action.
Could you start by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience with Harpswell Coastal Academy?
Sure. My name's Lee Rose. I was hired last year to teach and bring to HCA a new program in political theater, which I was really excited to do here. That's what brought me here.
What drew you to HCA?
Well, that request, of course, but I did take a look at your website, which when I read all of the details of the mission and what you had done and examples of other student projects, it seemed like the perfect place to really do what I thought theater was about. And it turned out to be really a great place for that.
Could you point to maybe some of the pieces from the mission and vision, like maybe one of the things that stood out to you the most in regards to connection to the theater?
Sure. Well, one of the things I think that's really important is that theater is a fantastic way to communicate to a community at large, and that it can also be used to present to a community problems that may be endemic to the community but might be too difficult for the community itself to address if they're indeed the subject of it. So very often it's easier to look at other people's problems and other people's solutions and other people's way of dealing with things rather than having to look at your own to get a more objective view of how things are going. And this seemed to be a really good environment for that.
Okay. What did your day-to-day life look like in your role as a political theater teacher?
What did my life look like here?
What was the school day like?
Well, it was really quite interesting. My last gig before this was college teaching at a couple of college institutions. So coming back into the high school world was really interesting because I had to be here every day, for one thing. And it also allowed me to contribute to the rest of the community in ways that I might not otherwise have done. So crew, for example, was a fantastic way. I really got to know my own crew really well. And just participating in all of the things around the theater program, whereas in college you pretty much focus on what you're doing. And it's only happenstance if you really get some interdisciplinary work going on outside of your department. But in a high school where everything's put together, particularly at HCA, where interdepartmental work is really promoted, it seemed really good. So I was really glad to be here all day and see all the various aspects of student life here. It was quite eye-opening.
What was your favorite memory or experience here at HCA?
Well, I hope my theater students are not dissuaded by what I'm going to tell you right now, because obviously everything I do in theater, I've chosen this as a career because it's what I love doing. But honestly, in answer to that question, I have to tell you, house band was the singular experience that really meant something to me, because it wasn't just something I was participating in, but it was something that allowed me to grow myself. And I hope Zach can tell you and all the people that were in it that I did feel that I expanded. I was scared proverbial-less about performing in front of people. I've always played guitar and I've always sang in a chorus, but I've really never done it in a band or as a solo singer. And not only did I perform in house band that way, but I challenged myself to serve as an example to my students, to do something you're afraid of, to do it. That the last week of crew, I forget what it's called, but every time we would do introductions, we would rotate faculty every week to introduce a particular concept to the students. And I actually performed the entire week of Paul Simon's songs, was one of my idols. And I did it and pulled it off, I think. So it was really exciting.
That was a great. Yeah, so following up on that kind of thing, what about the house band setup made you feel like that was kind of one of the more memorable things? What, my brain specifically is going to the students and your interactions with them and kind of what made that such a welcoming and the environment that you cherish.
Well, I have to hand it to you, Zach, to create an environment where collaborative work was truly the order of the day. that everybody was an equal partner, which certainly in a musical band you have to be. Yeah, everybody knows the bass is really what runs the entire every band, but I'm rhythm, so I've got to fit in there, and drums got to fit in, and everybody's got. I'm just joking about bass guitar, but everybody's got to fit in, and everybody has a part, and it will be different, but it will mesh, and that's what's cool about music instruction, that I actually always used to say, oh yeah, theater's better than music because it includes sound and all the other stuff. But no, there's something about music that really reaches the inner workings of the brain and cognitive ability that just does something that nothing else does. So it's really exciting.
Hold for a sec. Clip to time it.
Time for a drink.
Can you, when you're done with that, can you just talk loud for a second so I can make sure you don't, like...
Sure, what would you like me to say? Should I just speak louder in general?
No, that's
Okay.
fine. There was one, when you were saying bass, oh, there goes our sign, okay. You're saying bass, it clipped a little bit, just making sure.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question though. Is there any specific moment in this house band experience that really showed you what made it so special? You're good, Brian.
Any specific, but honestly, when we got it all together and performed during the celebration of learning, and there we were out in front of everybody, and it was that moment finally where this is it. This is now the time when it's happening, and we're really out in public. And you know, it was just sort of, next thing I knew, it was over. And the only thing I knew was when we looked back, and we did manage to get some recordings of it. I still don't have the whole thing, but when I listened to it, we sounded pretty darn good, and I was so proud of that. So that was the moment, really, looking back and seeing that, yeah, I guess we did okay.
One day, I'll get that recording. I don't know what happened to it. It's so annoying.
This is going to be a fun question for you to answer. What challenges did you experience during your time at HCA?
I've been waiting for this one. Well, obviously, I think we're all in the same boat on this one, which is that not everything works out the way you would like. All right? I took this job expecting it to be a 3-year commitment, establishing a political theater program for an ongoing charter school that was dedicated to social change, entrepreneurship, and the environment. Exactly the things I feel are important. Well, it didn't work out that way. So rather than just bemoan my outcast state, quoting Shakespeare, I decided to just take it as another learning experience. So what I did was say, you know, you can't fight City Hall. Reality is reality. This is the way it is. So I just started to look for what else I could do, utilizing the given circumstances I was handed. Now, let me explain to you exactly where I was at the end of the year. I moved here from down East Maine to take a job I thought would be 3 years running, for a pretty decent salary, I have to say, for a teacher. Everything's relative. Okay, I put my house on the market, moved here, expecting 3 years of this salary. And then it stopped. There was actually a moment in June where my wife and I were worried the house hadn't sold yet. If it didn't sell, what was our option? Only one. Pack up and move back to down East Maine to the house that we were very happy to be moving out of. Beautiful place, don't get me wrong, but I'm getting too old to take care of it, right? So that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But we just buckled down and said, okay, what can we do? Well, I'm 68, so even though I was not planning to retire until 70, that was an option, so I took it. So I started collecting Social Security. I also started looking around. Both an instructor here, Sue Prince, and my sister-in-law had been ski instructors elsewhere, and both happened to know that I'm an expert skier. So they both suggested that I do that. so I turned around, and this year that's what I've ended up doing. It's a fantastic job. I'm outside every day. I am skiing every day. Medicare paid for half my skis and boots, believe it or not. So yes, you can take adversity and turn it to your advantage if you just look for the opportunities that are still there. So that was really difficult. I have absolutely no compunction holding back and telling you it was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to deal with. But here I am, skiing 5 days a week and having a ball and talking to you guys here, and it's really been fun. So.
There was something I wanted to ask that's not written down here.
No, you can do that. Dude, follow-up questions. It's great.
Yeah, I know, but it completely just left my brain.
Okay, while we're waiting for that,
Yeah,
can you
someone else.
just repeat the line, the most difficult task I ever had to do, or whatever it was that you said? Something.
Well, that was the most difficult task I've had ever to accomplish.
Okay, good. 'Cause we lost focus for a second. I got very angry. Okay, Brad, do you know what it was?
That's fine. If it comes back, you can ask it later. Like, we can, editing's great. So, yeah. So just go ahead and go to the next one.
I have a question though. If
Sure.
you could go back to HCA for another year, or however long it would be, would you, after all that this school has been through, would you still go?
Yeah, absolutely no question. Although I obviously had my issues with the administration of the school, what I found here was the students that are here and my colleagues, who I consider my fellow teachers, not my administrators. I've been an administrator, and I've been a teacher, and I've been a student. I know the difference. You guys are what made it valuable, invaluable, and I would come back in a moment, any moment. The things I learned about things that I hadn't yet addressed in my career. For example, I've worked in the theater my whole life. I have dealt with GLBTQ plus people my whole life. Here gave me an understanding, an internal understanding of the issues and problems that trans and queer kids deal with on a regular basis that I never, ever would have done or learned. And to me, that's a really, really valuable thing. Other than that, also, the problem kids that ended up here, I found were absolutely wonderful to deal with. Nobody's a problem kid. It's the teacher's responsibility to find a way to engage them. And yes, it's easy to do with theater. I'm going to curse here, so you can edit it out later. I had students respond, "You mean I can get credit for building shit?" And I'd say, well, yeah, as long as you build your shit to my specs, absolutely. So that's exactly why I would come back in a minute. And I really do wish that the school would continue. I know we all do. And honestly, I even wish that I were here this year, even expanding, you know, just the way I was let go at the end of last year. It does bear some ill will on my part, because I think that I could have lent a lot to the transition and maybe even made it successful. Who knows?
Shit, that was good.
Great. Excellent. Okay. You got another question, Brian?
No.
You got one on the paper?
Oh, yeah. I'm done.
This is great, by the way. I'm really enjoying this.
I am too.
Thank you for the opportunity to spill my guts.
I'll let you take a drink.
Gracias.
When the news of potential closure, when you heard about school closing, how did you feel?
Violated. Yeah, disappointed, of course. But the first thing I thought of was, okay, how to fix that? I mean, so what do we do? And that's the way I respond to any problem. And actually, that's an important thing that I would like to mention here, that problems, obstacles, things we ordinarily see as obstacles, things that pop up and get in our way, are not just obstacles. They are opportunities for problem solving and creativity, and that's the most important thing. So to me, having to deal with this made me come up with solutions that I never would have thought of. I wouldn't be skiing 5 days a week right now if I were still teaching theater here. And sure, I would have loved to still be teaching theater here. But you know, it sure is nice getting out on those mountains every day. And I'm in great shape because of it. It's affected my health. It's still COVID, but I'm working outside, so I don't have to think about it at all. It's just great.
Can we just get, so, for the editor's sake, which is luckily not me this time.
Oh, good.
Can we just get a little bit of, like you saying, just when I saw news of the closure, when I heard news of the closure, just so.
Sure.
Because there's not really much to, like, get in on that whole dialogue from.
Sure. So you asked, when did how did I respond when I first heard of this closure? And yeah, it was shocking right at first, but the first thing I thought of was, well, what do I do about it? What can we do about this to fix it or take advantage of it? And that's, again, the most important thing. We can't always change the future, but we can certainly find out how we can take advantage of the given circumstances that we find ourselves in.
Okay, right. Got any more stuff?
What was the last question there? I think that I remember that's something I wanted to answer, I think. Or that was what you sent me. I don't know if it's still the last question. What did you learn? Or?
Sorry about that. Well, the last one on here is there anything else you would like to share, mention, feel, or feel is important to say?
What was... What are the questions that we haven't gone
on your
through?
email that you sent out to Ryan?
I just
It probably still had that one on it, but
It was what did you learn, I think. Something like that.
yeah, I think read the rest of the questions that we haven't gone through.
Yeah.
There were just two more, which is what do you hope people who will watch this will take away about HCA?
Okay, yeah, that
Okay.
yeah.
So make sure this.
Yeah, say the question. Okay.
Praise that viewer.
Okay. So, what do I hope that people can take away from this unfortunate situation at HCA? Well, it's really important to take responsibility. Take responsibility for your own actions and what you can do to correct things. You know, it would be easy to say that, again, it's Barksdale's point that brought me here, and it wasn't what I expected when I got here. But it was really my responsibility to do my due diligence and to see what HCA was about before I came here. It was difficult. It was in the middle of COVID. I didn't feel it comfortable enough to make a visit to the place. And honestly, had I made a visit, I would have seen that we were in half a Bath Iron Works cinder block building that was formerly a training facility for the Navy. That might have made me think twice, honestly. I had pictures of the auditorium that we had for a theater. Yes, I knew from the pictures that we could adapt it to turn an auditorium into a theater. But it's my fault that I didn't do my due diligence. I could have looked further. I could have found more to have dissuaded me from getting involved in this situation that obviously did not work out the way I expected. But let's look on the other side. If I had done that, I wouldn't be here now. And if I had done that, I wouldn't have had that last year of public school teaching experience that I can't possibly see being matched in any other way. So, yes, I accept responsibility for the due diligence I didn't do to get me here. But what is exciting to realize is that the problems that came up here gave me opportunities to grow as a teacher, to grow as an artist, certainly to grow as a musician, and to grow as a person. And I really think that's so valuable, and that's something I would like all of you students to take away from this experience, that everything negative in our lives, you know the expression, if it doesn't kill us, it makes us stronger. And I really do believe in that. So keep that in mind as you go ahead in your successful lives.
Did I have something? I don't think so. What do you got?
Is there anything else you would like to share or mention or you feel is important to say?
I think I pretty much just covered.
Well,
I don't think I gave you, I don't know. I mean,
oh, we got another question?
Oh shit, I'm stupid.
No.
How did the possibility of closure affect the school culture? I don't think.
He was around
Did you
during the
guys-
consolidation and initial.
oh yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Possibility of closure and the news of consolidation. How about that? Just like.
Well, the possibility of closure and the news of consolidation really put the fear of God, so to speak, in people. And honestly, again, that goes back to my belief that problems and obstacles are opportunities for creativity. I mean, they really, if life were just smooth and well, look at all the people that are born into wealth, for example. They don't know what working paycheck to paycheck means, and look at how that affects policymaking in our country, where most of our Congress are richies who don't understand having to work for a living. Oh, just ask Dad for some more money. Well, sure, that's great if you have a dad, if you have a dad who has money, if you have money, if you have any of these things. But if you're not born into wealth, what do? You learn to deal with the hand you've been dealt. And poker's a great image for that, because you don't have to be dealt a good hand to win in poker. What you do have to do is know how to be a good actor. You have to know how to bluff. You have to know how to play the hand you've been given, and to play the game, and to know the game, and to know the rules of the game. And if you do, you can make hay while the sun shines.
We start singing.
That better go in the freaking thing.
What?
I'll try and convince you.
What?
Elrose, make a note of that.
Of what?
Include sick tangent. In
Sick-
Final Cut.
Sick tangent? What's my sick tangent?
All right, guys, is there anything else that you need?
Not that I can think of. Did you ever just say, "Hi, I'm Lee Rose"? Just like your name at any point? Because I don't.
I think
Yeah,
you did
the
at
first
very
question
beginning.
was an introduction
Oh, okay.
and like
Okay.
experience with.
Well,
it.
hi,
You
I'm
wanna
Lee
get-
Rose,
go
like it or not.
Yeah, I think it would be best if you just did like, "Hi, I'm Lee Rose," just like.
Without a joke. Okay.
Asbestos.
Hi, I'm Lee Rose.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Sure, my pleasure.
All right. Cool.
Thanks for the free water.
So, we got snacks and glassware. Do you want us to come say hi to the rest of the class?
Sure.
If you want to, I don't mean to.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, honestly.